Our reading this morning is from Psalm 98. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have gotten him victory. The Lord has made known his victory. He has revealed his vindication in the sight of nations. He has remembered his steadfast love and faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the victory of our God. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth, and break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Sing praises to the Lord with the lyre and the sound of melody, with trumpets and the sound of the horn. Make a joyful noise before the King, the Lord. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who live in it. Let the floods clap their hands. Let the hills sing together for joy at the presence of the Lord. For he is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the people with equity.
When I was a kid, there was a television show called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. U period, N period, I don't know what it stood for. Oh, it was a great show. I loved it. And I had a friend, Doug, who had perfectly brown hair and was lean, and he was Napoleon Solo. And believe it or not, before this hair went white, it was dirty dishwater blonde, and before that, it was actually blonde, so I played Ilya Kuryakin. Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin. We replicated that show. We went further than that show. We would start an adventure on a Friday afternoon, and we'd play for hours. We'd get the bad guys. We'd free the ones who needed to be freed. We'd be so wound up in it, we'd put a period in it when we had to get, a comma, that is, when we had to go in. The next day, we'd play it again. We played and played and played. Me as Ilya, Doug, my friend, as Napoleon Solo. We were good friends for a very long time, and as these things go, he went off to school, I went off to school. We didn't keep up that much. Occasionally we'd see each other. When Facebook came around, we'd see things on Facebook. I was amazed at how much he still looked like a vibrant young man. He started to look more and more like Robert Vaughn, the actor who played Napoleon Solo. I went one way, became a minister. He became a physician and then a radiologist. I moved around the country. He stayed pretty much local. One day, Doug was reading an x-ray, and he looked at it, and he couldn't quite make it out. And after 3 or 4 hours of not being able to make it out, he went home, and he said to his wife he had to quit. He couldn't do his job anymore because at 55, he developed Alzheimer's. And within 1.5 years, he was dead. I hadn't stayed all that close to Doug, but it nearly killed me to have him die. And it was at the end of a devastating decade for me, a decade that started with the death of my brother, followed by 2 brother-in-laws, followed by both of my parents, and then Doug in the devastating decade for me. You've had decades like that, haven't you? Hard decades when you lose people you love, when things that you thought should not happen did happen. Losing Doug at his mid-50s, it changed the world in some ways for me. First, it scared the heck out of me. I was always 9 months older than Doug. If he could get sick, what could happen to me? And the world was new then. I had to do things differently, not just because of Doug, but because of these losses. When you lose someone, it changes the world you have. You did things the way you always did them, and then they're gone. And now you have to adjust and do a new thing, and it's quite difficult. Back when Doug and I were playing The Man from U.N.C.L.E., one of the things we loved about it were all the little gadgets they had. One of the gadgets was a grappling hook. You know what a grappling hook is? It's like a nasty fish hook, but big and heavy with some weight. And you take it, and when you attach it to something, it hangs on. And it has a rope on one end. We got one actually. We got a grappling hook, and we started to swing it, and we'd throw it and miss. And we'd swing it and throw it and miss. And then we'd swing and swing and swing, and we got it. And it hooked. And then we could scale the wall like Napoleon Solo and Elia Kuryakin should do. We could pull it here and here. And maybe we weren't going to get this grappling hook back. We'd pull it back and forth, but there it was, that strong, stable line. This psalm that talks about singing a new song, in some ways it says that the way things used to be aren't going to continue anymore. It's time for a new song. But when a song is new because of loss, it's a harder song to sing. When you've lost someone or some way, it's hard to sing. But I'd like you to picture this strong line here. In the psalm, in Hebrew, it's got a wonderful word. The word is chesed. Chesed. And it translates as steadfast love or loving kindness. And what it really means is the stability and firmness of God to hold us, to give us a strong line, a place to anchor in, to stay stable in, even when we're singing a new song, even when everything else changes in the world, there is God's chesed. It remains, it stays, anchors us. The psalmist knows, you know, that sometimes we have devastating decades or disturbing losses, like the names of those listed today in All Saints' Day list. I don't know many of them because I'm new, but you know many of these names. I was reading along this week, getting ready for it, and my wife snuck in a name on me. And it did to me what I bet it does to you. The name is Susan Carlson, our good friend. She died on the 30th of December, good friends. And I read that name, and it took my breath away for a moment. You see names of people you know. Things are different without them. But remember, there is a strong line with God to hold us through, to move us even when we pull this way or that, even when we feel like we're about to disconnect. God's line, God's love, God's chesed remains. Sisters and brothers, thanks be to God, who holds fast even when things are new and hard for us. Amen.